Good morning. You're watching the News Hour with Matt Lorenzo and Ann Davis.
Good morning. It's 6 o'clock on Thursday, the 15th of May.
Good morning. In the programme this morning, there's an extraordinary development in the latest surrogacy case in Britain. It's reported the surrogate mother who said she'd aborted the baby she was carrying for a Dutch couple is in fact still pregnant. We'll discuss the increasingly complex issues surrounding surrogacy that this case has highlighted. That's at 6:25.
Cracking down on smoking. The government plans to ban tobacco advertising and to phase out tobacco sponsorship in sport. But what are the implications? We'll be speaking to Health Minister Tessa Jowell at 25 to 7. Now, though, it's time for a first look at the weather with Sally.
Thank you, Matthew. Hello, very good morning to you. A few showers around today, a little warmer than yesterday inland. We got up to 70 degrees down in the southern half of the UK. It's going to be slightly cooler than that on the east coast because we've got winds picking up there later on this afternoon. Up across the northwest, if we take a look at this morning's picture, we can see cloud up there giving a few light showers, but on the whole, a nice bright start to many areas. A little bit of mist and fog down in the south, but the summary looking like this. I'll be here in about half an hour's time with a full update. See you then.
Thanks, Al. And now let's cross to the news desk for this morning's headlines with Kate Garraway.
Thanks, Matthew. Good morning. Good morning. A surrogate mother believed to have aborted a baby she was carrying for a Dutch couple has now admitted she is still pregnant. It's reported this morning that Karen Roach never had the termination and says she and her husband Mike will keep the child. The couple from Amsterdam are said to be shocked and stunned at the news. Gary Curtis reports.
Karen Roach's amazing revelation comes just days after she claimed she'd aborted her baby. She's seen here discussing the pregnancy with childless couple Sonia and Clemens Peters, who were paying her to carry a child for them. Karen said she didn't think they were sufficiently committed to the pregnancy and claimed instead she'd had an abortion. But this morning it's reported she admits she lied about the termination, publicising it so she wouldn't have to give up the child, a boy. Mrs. Roach, a maternity nurse from Scarborough, says she and her husband will now bring up the child as their own. Working through surrogacy pioneer Kim Cotton's agency, she agreed to a deal with the Peters worth £12,000. It's reported this morning that they find Mrs. Roach's behaviour disgusting. This latest twist to the case is bound to lead to fresh calls for a review of the surrogacy legislation in Britain, which some say is too vague. Gary Curtis, GMTV News.
Michael Howard's Tory party leadership ambitions have suffered another serious setback. A second former prisons minister, Sir Peter Lloyd, has attacked the former Home Secretary's sacking of prisons chief Derek Lewis, describing the move as an injustice. Meanwhile, Anne Widdecombe is meeting Commons Speaker Betty Boothroyd today in a bid to make a common statement spelling out her grievances against her old boss. But as Sue Jameson reports, the embattled Mr Howard is trying to rally support.
The idea of the party, a stone's throw from the Commons, was to woo support with a little champagne and a few well-chosen words, both for the converted and the don't-knows, as the Tory leadership contest hots up.
Michael Howard supporters?
I haven't decided yet.
It's really been to give him an opportunity to meet a lot more of the members of Parliament.
I'm undecided, I'm committed.
I'm just coming along to have a drink. I'm just coming along to see what's going on.
But with allegations from former colleague Anne Widdecombe over his sacking of Prison Director General Derek Lewis 2 years ago, his battle for the Tory party leadership is becoming bogged down in the feud. Today, Ms Widdecombe is asking the Speaker whether she can make all her allegations public in the House of Commons. If the answer's no, she could write an open letter to Michael Howard detailing her grievances. But does she admit her battle to stop him becoming party leader could split the Conservatives still further?
In the temporary situation, in the short term, yes, I do. I knew that at the time. I was determined that I would not cause dissension in the party before the election, and I wish that others of my colleagues had taken the same view.
If the Speaker doesn't allow Anne Widdecombe to raise the matter in the House of Commons today, she says that she'll find some other way to spill the beans. And though Mr Howard has denied all the allegations, the row must be affecting his leadership bid. Sue Jameson, GMTV News, Westminster.
Foreign Secretary Robin Cook will today lift the 13-year ban on trade union membership at GCHQ, the intelligence centre in Cheltenham. As Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher imposed the ban in 1984, angering staff who felt their commitment to the nation's security was being questioned. It seems the lives of lifeboat crews are being put at unnecessary risk by amateur sailors who set out to sea with little experience or preparation, according to a new survey. The Royal National Lifeboat Institution says 1 in 5 pleasure boaters doesn't even check the weather forecast before setting sail. As Westminster settles down to business, the Irish Prime Minister John Bruton will today dissolve Parliament and call a June the 6th election. The results of the Dáil elections will have a bearing on the Northern Ireland peace process, which has effectively been put on hold during voting on both sides of the water. Our correspondent Liam Cray reports.
Dundalk, a typical border town in the Irish Republic. People here will be voting in the state's general election in 3 weeks' time. The violence and political problems of their neighbours just up the road in Northern Ireland will feature in that election.
I would be looking at, say, the sincerity of the politicians in the south as to whether it's queued for their own southern vote or whether they're really going to do something for the people in the north.
But to most, bread and butter issues take priority.
Health, education, you know, all the issues that concern them down here.
Unemployment and crime. The present government, led by Prime Minister John Bruton of Fine Gael, is a coalition of 3 parties. His partners are Dick Spring's Labour Party and Democratic Left.